Hello teachers! I'm Mark Richard from Oxford University Press, and I will tell you what you need to know to teach Learn English with Dora the Explorer in your classroom. Every unit of Learn English with Dora the Explorer has 8 lessons. In this video, we will look at Lesson 6. Lesson 6 is called Story, Roleplay and Value. Let's look at your lesson objectives. So you're going to tell a story through actions and mime. Your students will practice listening and gross motor skills, moving around doing actions. You will explore a value that develops your students' social awareness, and your students will develop their fine motor skills. In this lesson, it will be with a drawing and colouring activity. In Learn English with Dora the Explorer, every lesson follows this simple pattern. So both you and your students will get into a rhythm and feel secure in each lesson. As always, the teacher's guide will tell you how to warm up your students. First, there will be the unit Hello routine. And in Lesson 6, you will be guided on how to review key story words from the previous lesson. In our example lesson, you'll quickly remind students of the expression hold hands and point out it's important to hold hands with an adult when we cross the street. This is related to Lesson 6's value, which is be safe. After the warm-up comes the main section of each lesson. Let's look at the student book activity for Lesson 6. In Lesson 6, students will do one activity, which is listen to the story, act. The 8 story frames in the student book present a simplified version of the animated video that students watched previously in Lesson 5. This supports children's understanding of the story. In Lesson 6, your students will look at these pictures to help them follow the story as they listen to the story audio. The story audio is a much shorter, simpler version of the animated story, with only 1 or 2 short sentences to go with each picture. The children will then act out this short, easy version of the story using simple gestures. Every story highlights a value that develops children's social skills and community awareness. In Lesson 6, the storyteller from the video will help you to draw children's attention to the value and encourage them to explore how they can apply it in their everyday lives. In our example lesson, the value is be safe. Children will follow Dora and her friend's example and act out looking each way and holding hands to safely cross the street. So, what do teachers do to help students listen to the story and act it out? Let's take a look. Step 1. Say, "It's story time with Dora" to your students and have them open their books to these story pages. Then ask them a few simple questions about the pictures. What characters do they see? What objects do they see in each picture? Step 2. Say, "Let's listen to the story," and play the story audio for them for their first time to hear it, just so they can relax and enjoy it. Step 3. Play the audio again, but this time ask the children to point to the pictures as they listen. Now, you can do this yourself at the same time, so children copy if they need to. They can see you pointing to the right pictures. And also note that the audio track has a built-in gap and sound effect after each picture, so it's very clear to you and the students when they should move their attention from one picture to the next one. Step 4. Say, "Let's act." Now here you're going to show the story cards one at a time to your students while playing the audio again. So what you can do is pause after each frame and then teach your students the actions that accompany each story frame. and encourage your students to copy those actions. Acting out stories is a superb way for your students to internalize the language that they hear. The gestures they use to act out the lines of the story help them to attach meaning and feeling to everything they hear and say. So how can teachers help students to act out these stories? It's time for this video's teaching tip. So first, before students act, they really should have followed the story by listening and pointing to the pictures at least 2 times. Next tip, play the audio again and pause after each story frame to teach the actions. Now, it's harder for children to use their bodies to do the actions if they are sitting down and looking at their books. It's a lot easier if they're standing up and they have their heads up looking forward. Dora the Explorer has 2 tools you can use to get children listening while standing up and looking up and acting out the gestures. First is the Classroom Presentation Tool's focus function. Turn the focus function on. It's up here. And then just click on any story frame you like, this one, and it will instantly fill your screen. You can play the audio as students have their heads up, focusing on the big image on the screen. As students are focusing forward, you can stand next to the screen, pause the audio after each story frame, and then demonstrate the actions to accompany it. In this case, it's hold hands and look. The other teaching tool you can use are the story cards from the Classroom Resource Pack. You hold the story frame with the picture facing forward for all of your students to see. And on the other side, the teacher gets to see the audio script and also the actions, which you're going to teach the students to go with the words that Dora or other characters say. There are also a couple of questions that you can use to ask the students about the picture that they see and the language from the unit. So this way, the students will all focus on you, the teacher, as they listen to the story audio, and you don't have to remember anything at all. It's all written down here for you. So the Classroom Presentation Tool and the story cards will really help you to pause after each story frame to teach the actions. Finally, students will do the actions as they listen to the story audio again. So, for example, they will hear, hold hands and look, and they will do the action as it's described on the story card here. Children clasp their hands together and then put their hand above their eyes as if looking for something. It's all there in the story card for the teacher. And, children may add some speaking at this stage, but don't force them to if they're not confident enough yet. When you've finished acting out the story, it's time to discuss the story's value. In this lesson, the value is be safe. So one way to do this is to review with students the very final part of the video you played them in Lesson 5, and that's where the storyteller recaps the story, but also asks a few questions to get students thinking about the value, in this case, be safe. So that's a nice starting point for a discussion. Next, look at the value story frame together with your students. There's always one picture in each story with the value written on it, and you can talk about that together. Now, for example, you could say, look at Dora and her friends. They hold hands and look before they cross the street, and they follow the instructions of the crossing guard. They are being safe. Step 3, provide some more examples of the value that apply to children's lives, for example, in the classroom or in their neighborhoods. So you could start by asking children if they hold hands and look when they cross the road or cross the street. And what else do they do to be safe? For example, do they look ahead when they are running so they don't, boom, bump into a door or something like that. And talking of doors, do they keep their fingers out of a door when it's being closed? That's being safe. So it's good to help your students think of very, very specific examples of being safe in the classroom and other places they know, like home and their neighborhoods. Now we've finished the student book activity. Discussing the story's value leads into the activity book activity. Let's take a look. In Lesson 6, the activity book extends the value from the story into a real-life context with a pen-to-paper exercise. Let's see how you can teach this in your classroom. First, you're going to ask questions about the picture to get your students thinking more about the Lesson 6 value. So, focus your students' attention on the activity book page and ask them about the picture and the value it shows. So, for example, you could say to your students, what are the child and his or her daddy doing? They're holding hands. Why is this being safe? And see what your students say. Step 2, tell the children to draw their own faces on the child and then colour in the child's clothes, the rest of the picture, however they like. And as children are drawing, remember, this is where they are developing their fine motor skills. When you finish the activity book activity, remember to look in the Teacher's Guide lesson notes for an optional activity box. You'll see optional activity headed in blue. In our example lesson here, the optional activity uses puppets to provide more examples of the value, be safe. So well done! We've completed Lesson 6 from a unit of Learn English with Dora the Explorer. We did it again. And because we're all amazing teachers, of course, we achieved our lesson objectives. Here they are. At the end of our video for Lesson 5, we said that with Dora, every English class is an adventure. And I introduced you to the Reading Stars graded reading series to give your students more adventures through English. Reading Stars aligns with the levels of the main course book, Learn English with Dora the Explorer. Now in the Lesson 5 video, we looked at the Dora storybooks, in which Dora and her friends go on adventures and solve puzzles and overcome problems to reach their goal. Reading Stars also has storybooks featuring other Nickelodeon cartoon characters. These are especially interesting to schools looking to introduce STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, in a child-friendly way. Here they are. Team Umizoomi are Geo, Bot and Millie. Every story has a problem to solve, and Team Umizoomi uses math skills to save the day. Team Umizoomi will introduce your students to math in a subtle and supported way. In the Blaze and the Monster Machine stories, 8-year-old techie AJ drives monster truck Blaze. They go on adventures and tackle problems involving science and math. In this example from Level 1's Snow, 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 which kind of vehicle should Blaze transform into to clear away the snow and help find the other cars? Should he transform into a glider, or a boat, or a snowplow? Well, you can see for yourselves. And remember, Oxford University Press can recommend a Reading Stars storybook to perfectly complement every unit in the Learn English with Dora the Explorer course. Ask your Oxford University Press ELT consultant for the correlation chart. As I mentioned in the video for Lesson 5, parents can download resources for every Reading Stars book. The Parents Guide includes advice for reading with children, useful English phrases and printable resources. And there's high-quality audio to dramatize every story. And we have support videos that both parents and teachers can use. And for teachers, the Teacher's Guide includes a series overview, information on the different types of readers in the series, and photocopyable resources such as letters to parents, worksheets, and student reading records. So thank you for watching this video for Lesson 6 of Learn English with Dora the Explorer. Remember to check out our videos for all 8 lessons in a unit to support your kindergarten teaching. Enjoy your teaching. Together we can do it.
We did it! We did it! We did it!